Alright, hey guys, King of Charmans here, and here we explore another moveset change that's coming in second half Season 6. For this one, I'm going to be doing Karate Chop. Alright, so Karate Chop was forever heralded up until this point as the worst version of counter. So in other words, if something had Karate Chop and counter, you automatically gave it counter because counter overall had better damage. They had the same energy generation, so Karate Chop still does generate 7 energy just like counter does. Now here's the thing about Karate Chop. This fighting type fast attack will now generate more energy. It's actually really interesting. So the reason why counter is better than Karate Chop is because it does more damage. The damage is enough over time to make a difference. So it's enough time to make a difference. Alright, as you see here, I was talking about, here's the difference. As you see here, that 3 damage you see actually matters for Karate Chop. The damage per turn and energy per turn is the same, however, the damage per turn is what really makes a difference. Over time, that damage adds up. So even just a little bit of energy, if Karate Chop were to make 9 energy, this would be extremely interesting. Because then that would make, there's one key Pokemon that actually has Karate Chop and counter. So here's the thing. Let's go into battle. We're going to do this. And then we're going to do Machamp, Shadow. For example, Shadow Champ's one of the big ones. Versus Azumarill. So, with that, let's see. Let's give it 2 shields. This is just an example, by the way. This is not like anything hard. This is just to give you a good example of like, counter over time against Azumarill. Well, here, let's just do Bastiodon. Let's just do Bastiodon for the pleasure, for the memes. So 1 counter against Bastiodon does 10 damage. Over time, you just essentially just destroy Bastiodon. You actually don't even need to use your charge moves. You just smack it to death. No, seriously, you just smack it to death. Here's what you do. You can literally counter down an entire Bastiodon. Can you do that with Cross Chop? I mean, with Karate Chop? Yeah, but watch what happens. Okay, so it's 10 damage with counter, right? Here's Karate Chop. Also, by the way, Karate Chop is Legacy, so takes a little bit longer, but it's a whole 4 damage off. Essentially, you're doing almost half damage. So you're doing 60% of what you do with counter. This is why Karate Chop versus counter is worse. However, with an energy increase, that makes it really interesting. For example, if Karate Chop were to be 9 energy, like a Mud Shot or a Psycho Cut clone, it would take 4 Karate Chops to get to a Cross Chop. In other words, Machamp would be... Yeah, that whole Rock Slide, yeah, Machamp, yeah, I don't even know. Like, until it happens, I'm not going to speculate, but you know what? You know, there's a lot like that. It's just a good example to see just how little bit of energy goes a long way, especially for a move like Karate Chop. Alright, so here's Karate Chop. So Karate Chop for PvP is, for damage, it's 5 per, and for energy, it's basically the same thing as counter, which is 7 energy. And it's also a 2-turn move, so basically the same thing as counter, just less damage. So if you look at here's why fighting is so dominant. Fighting actually has a lot of coverage. You take down Dark, Ice, Normal, Rock, and Steel. This is why counter users in the Go Battling meta are so dominant, because counter damage actually either it adds up, or there's a lot of things that Cross Chop and, like, not Cross Chop. There's a lot of things fighting type attacks can hit that are super effective, so it can mash through a lot of them. As far as Dark goes, things like Umbreon. For the Ice types, things like Abomasnow. For normal types, Snorlax. Rock, you have Bastiodon. Steel, you have Registeel or Galarian Stunfisk. Fighting is a great move. It has a lot of type coverages, and it's energy generation that a lot of fighting type moves get, like for example counter and Karate Chop. It allows you to get to your charge moves pretty quickly. This is why Pokemon that have counter and not actually having like the fighting type itself, so it doesn't get same type attack bonus. That's why it's so good, just because of fighting's coverage. Dark, ice, normal, rock, and steel. Like, that's a lot of coverage. Okay, so, and they're very meta. Those are very relevant typings in a lot of Go Battle League metas. Now, of course, the con is you are, like, there's a lot of things that do resist you. Bug, fairy, flying, ghost, poison, and psychic. You do have some resistance, especially ghost does double resist you. However, you generally you have other moves. Your secondary move can cover that. Or you're able to have other mon just cover those weaknesses. But in general, like, I don't even need to tell you. You've probably seen a lot of counter users, not just from my content, but other creators' content, and just across Go Battle League from your battles itself. Again, the minor difference between Karate Chop and counter is that it does less damage. So just less damage. That's the only difference. So that's why this whole implication of giving more energy is really interesting, because they're like, if it's 2 energy, that's pretty huge because of the amount of spam you can do with Karate Chop. Alright, so the interesting part about Karate Chop, there's actually some... Okay, so there's not a lot, okay? But there's some real... There's a lot of interesting ones. Well, the most interesting is obviously Machamp. So, with the Rock Slide debuff incoming, Karate Chop is Legacy, which means you will have to use the Legacy TM. However, will the Legacy TM be worth it? Like I said, I'll be doing a separate video analysis to give you whether or not Shadow Champ or regular Champ is going to be worth it. The one that's kind of like an interesting one is Primeape. So Primeape has Night Slash. It's also going to get Ice Punch with this new update. So Primeape with Ice Punch can be really interesting, along with the fact it also carries several other moves that make Primeape an absolute beast. If you're giving Karate Chop, I don't know, man. Primeape's looking pretty dang good in the Go Battle League meta. It's going to be something can be really, really interesting, because it can do a whole lot of damage. Now, like I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of Pokemon that have Karate Chop, which makes Karate Chop just really, really interesting. As you see here, the outside of the Primeape or like Machamp family, the other ones are Magmar, Magby, pretty much the entire Magmar family, which is kind of useless. Look, I love my boy Magby. Like, level 50 Magby by being like an awesome like pick. I'm just saying, but you know what? Sadly, that's just the way it is. I'm gonna go look at the database, try to bring on more data, and see if there are more Pokemon that have Karate Chop that have more potential. We've already identified 2 families that can take care of it. For example, Primeape as well as Machamp. However, I'm gonna look from
5 minutes later.
Alright, so I actually tried to find a list, and unfortunately this is the list, guys! There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, minus shadows. Why am I doing math right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Pokemon. Minus their shadow versions that have Karate Chop. That's not a lot! So, that's pretty interesting how the lack of variety of Pokemon having this move means this is going to be really it's really interesting regardless. But yeah, there's only 8 Pokemon that have Karate Chop in the entire Pokemon Go Pokedex. Alright, so another news, guys, and summary, and there's not really much to summarize. Karate Chop can be really interesting, like I said, until the actual data comes out, the hard data comes out. I'm not going to do an analysis on it, but it's going to get there. We'll get it soon, and then I'll go ahead and definitely make a bunch of videos out of this. Especially just because this is going to change a lot of options, because a lot of meta stuff might be phased out, and a lot of stuff that you might not even think that's meta, or stuff that's meta might actually be more useful in a different kind of style. For example, with Karate Chop, yes, it's legacy on Machamp, but Machamp's also getting payback. If payback's really strong, and if you give my Machamp Karate Chop, it might be worth it to have Karate Chop down there, just because it might be able to spam its moves faster than a normal. In fact, a Machamp with extra energy might actually be better than a Machamp with counter. So we'll get there when we get the data, like I mentioned, but Karate Chop's looking really interesting. The bad thing about Karate Chop is that it's only available to literally, there's not a lot of Pokemon that can get it, which is pretty sad. Maybe in the future we'll get more Pokemon that have it, but until then, it looks like it's only limited to probably Primeape and Machamp. Those are the only 2 Pokemon I see it making an immediate impact. Unfortunately, Magmortar is such a bad Pokemon stat-wise that even if you gave it Karate Chop, its charge moves just don't make up for its lack of a good bait move at all. So, if you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. Like I said, I wish I could give you more data, but until I get more hard data, I won't make a video. I'll make another video and more videos regarding that. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I'll see you guys on the next video.